And we are live. Finally, I'm David Boles. This is Boles.tv. BOLES.tv. Well, I tell you, get everything all ready to go in your life, and you hit the go live button and you're live, and everything freezes in Streamlabs. And it's like, what's going on? Why isn't anything moving? And your microphone's fine, and the music's playing fine, and the screen is dead. Live from Jersey City, it's Boles.tv. Gordon David Descu. Oh boy, he's wound up, I tell you. It must be Friday. And you forgot to add Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. So I think, so I restart the machine and everything's restarted, and then I try to upgrade my video drivers, and then I upgrade Streamlabs. And then I'm thinking, well, do I have to restart everything all over again? Or should I just go for it after updating Streamlabs and see if it works? So I said, well, I guess we'll find out. And it didn't freeze until we went live, and then we went live, and I kept watching and watching. Okay. So far, so good? I don't know. I guess we'll find out as the day continues. Update on the skin biopsies. They're getting a little lumpy now. Sign of infection? I don't know. Sign of healing? I don't know that either. But they're there. And they are the mark of perhaps not the beast, and never the genius. I guess they're just marks. Will they scar? Probably. I don't know. Well, last night was fabulous. If you're for truth, justice, and the American way. We had the first presentation of the January 6th committee. And they did sort of a smart thing by hiring a former news producer from ABC News to produce the event. And it was pretty well produced. Just the first hour I thought was pretty compelling. The chair, interesting guy. We don't need to hear his life story right at the beginning of the show. That was a mistake. That, for many people, was, oh no, it's going to be one of those shows. We don't care where he's from, where he grew up, what it means. None of that's important. It wasted 7 minutes on all that introduction by him. Liz Cheney was very effective, very prosecutorial, which was great. But if I were producing the show, I would have started with the sound clip and the video clip that everyone's using on the news today. Which is great, but nobody really watches the news during the day. You had everybody watching last night. And they should have opened the show with Ivanka Trump sitting there robotically saying, I agree with Bill Barr. That's the first thing we should have heard. Ivanka Trump. The lights come up. Nobody says anything. In a darkened room. She appears on screen. I agree with Bill Barr. And then you're paying attention. Because the people you're trying to reach are the people who are connected to her. They want her to be president. They have it all worked out. It's Trump, then her, then some of the boys, and then Barron, I think they said in 2054. Something. They have it all figured out. It's going to be a Trump dynasty. So put the princess on. Right at the very, not I agree with Dad. Nothing was going on. I agree with Bill Barr. Then you have their attention. And then you play the Bill Barr clips, which are horribly produced, where you're looking at three people, where he's the main guy talking. The two people on the other side of him are not being interviewed. And why is Bill Barr looking this way instead of at the camera? Terribly produced. Not because of what happened last night, but when they actually did the recordings of Bill Barr. And then play Ivanka Trump again. Same thing. I agree with Attorney General Bill Barr. And then play more Bill Barr. And then play Ivanka Trump saying, I agree with Bill Barr. and let the former Attorney General of the United States slam it home about what really happened. And then the princess daughter, the unpaid advisor to Daddy-O, agreeing with the prosecution. That's what I would have done. That would have been the first 15 minutes. And then, forget the chairman, we don't care about him. Let Liz Cheney rip her open and let her go after him. For 45 minutes. Let her tear them apart. And she did, but it was too late because you have them in the first minute or two. 5 minutes, you got to make your point, or your point's going to get lost. And while I respect the chair, his personal history has nothing to do with January 6th. And that's the problem people have with politicians. They make it all about themselves. My personality, I'm important, I'm the chairman. This is Boles.tv, live from New Jersey. Instead of being about, well, this is about the human condition. Let's start there. And watching the video that we've never seen before was just alarming. And you relived it, and it was very effective. But for me, it took too long to get there. People have very short attention spans. You have to make them curious. You have to make them listen. What did she say? Ivanka agrees with what? Ivanka, who? She's the next president. What do you mean? She what? Bill Barr? Bill Barr's a quitter. What did she say? She agrees with Bill Barr? Then that's the opportunity to change some minds. Hey, it's our new friend. Back with us. Lovely to have you here. I'm so happy you're checking in. Thank you for saying hello. I appreciate it. I hope you are doing well. We're starting the morning with our early morning rant. Since we last saw you, we had skin biopsies on our forehead. We are waiting for the returns. The feeling seems to be that they're not anything bad. But the bleeding proof is nothing fun to live with. And today I'm supposed to have a telehealth, I'm calling it a telecommunications conference with my heart doctor or the physician's assistant to get more medication. Now, we'll see if they make me actually go into the office, because they wouldn't refill me this week without, I guess, seeing me, talking to me, although they didn't tell me that. They just ignored me. But I'm supposed to be by my phone between 12:30 and 4:30 p.m. today. You are watching Netflix. Well, that's good. Netflix is good for everybody. I hope Netflix survives and convinces people that they're more than they really are, because they have good information and we need that sort of competition. And we are reminded last night, watching the January 6th hearings, of what we discussed previously here maybe a month ago, where Jamie Raskin said, and I think it's coming, probably on Monday, that the 6 most terrifying words in this whole shenanigans, as the kids say, is what Mike Pence said to his Secret Service team protecting him in the Capitol. I'm not getting in that car. And when you think about the context, Jamie Raskin's right. It's a horror story in 6 words. Because Pence was there in the Capitol protected by his people. And his people shot the woman in the neck, who the MAGA people are trying to make into some kind of martyr. But they were that close to the vice president. And then a car pulls up. Pence didn't ask for a car. His Secret Service people didn't call for a car. And the Secret Service is made up of people who can be very loyal to the wrong people. Joe Biden, when he was running for president, said, look, I don't want Secret Service people assigned to me by Trump. I want the Secret Service people that I had when I was vice president. Because I know them, I know their character, and I know that they're going to follow the law and they're going to be loyal to me. And, well, we can't find them. They were assigned different places. And Joe Biden said, I don't care, I want them. And he got them. So the mystery is, well, who shows up in this car? Who sent them? And I believe it's going to come out it was the White House. Because they knew Mike Pence was not on their side. Mike Pence was not going to go along with this. So they sent a car to go to the Capitol to protect Mike Pence. Allegedly. And when the Secret Service people got out of the car and said, get in, Mike Pence said those famous 6 words. I'm not getting in that car. And imagine if he had not said those words and got in the car. Would we have ever heard from Mike Pence again? Would it have been revealed later that he was mysteriously injured by the madding crowd and is in critical condition and dying? Would he be held somewhere for 2-3 days for his own protection and safety of the United States government? While the President pro tem, Chuck Grassley of Iowa, said he will go along with this rejection of the ballot and the voting and send it back to the states. He was on board. The only person who could stop any of this was Mike Pence. And if Mike Pence had to do it all over again, he would have probably not told them, I'm not going along with it. Hang Mike Pence! That was the rallying cry that day, January 6th, in Washington, D.C. So without Mike Pence, it wasn't going to work. So they had to figure out how to deal with Mike Pence. Well, let's get him in a car and protect him. And we have Chuck Grassley standing by to do the dirty deed. And once it's done, then, Mike Pence can be released or whatever. But he's much more dangerous alive because he can tell you what happened. And I'm just sort of surprised that he was able to say, I'm not getting in that car and get away with it. He must have told his people, his Secret Service detail, look, whatever happens, I'm not going. We're staying right here. I'm not getting into any car. I'm not leaving. This is where it's happening. And I guess they made it work because he didn't go. And he stood up for democracy. And he won. So it's just glorious and terrifying at the same time how close we came. Mike Pence is the one who saved us. Believe it or not. There's an article by Politico that just appeared this morning that I'm going to share with you. Because I have been saying this for, 2 or 3 years, and I get told to hush up. Be quiet. Don't talk like that. Don't mention that. And that is this. That the infamous tough guy gal, notorious R.B.G. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, really betrayed our democracy with her selfishness. And here's an article that finally supports exactly what I've been saying for 2 or 3 years. Extraordinarily self-centered as Roe reversal looms, Ruth Bader Ginsburg admirers wrestle with her legacy. And what it boils down to is, we knew Trump is coming. Obama knew Trump was coming. Ruth Bader Ginsburg had been very ill with various cancers over the arc of her life, of the last 7 years of her life. Hospitalized very, very seriously. And Obama, because he's a gentleman, privately brought her over to the White House for a lunch. And Obama says he didn't ask her to retire, but that was the point and the purpose of the conversation. And she said, as she has told other people, that she isn't going anywhere. She's fine. She's going to beat this cancer. I'm not stepping down. You can't make me, because I'm appointed for life. That was the conversation she had with Obama. And he was very upset and very disappointed. And that is the big difference between Obama and Donald Trump. Obama is a gentleman. He's a terrific guy and excellent at getting himself elected. He was terrible at leading a democracy by getting more Democrats. Every election that Obama had, he lost Democrats. And for the first 2 years of his presidency, he had a majority in the House and the Senate, and he did nothing with it because he thought they'd come around, those Republicans. And Joe Biden has made the same exact mistake. So Ruth Bader Ginsburg refused to get off the court. Obama's out. Trump's president. She gets cancer and dies. And thus begins the national nightmare that gets rightly and directly pinned on Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Now, that doesn't mean that she's not a wonderful person and that she's very smart and helped a lot of people and people loved her and she was tough. But it does show that she was selfish and that she put herself before the goodness of the country. And then you think about how Trump handles his Supreme Court. Anthony Kennedy. There's a very famous video of Trump giving a speech and walking down the hallway with Anthony Kennedy with his arm around him. And Trump says something in Kennedy's ear, and the justice stops and looks at him like, "What did you just say to me?" And Trump pushes him along and keeps going. And the next day or two, Anthony Kennedy announces that he is retiring from the Supreme Court so that Donald Trump can choose a younger, more vibrant replacement who will last a longer time. Now, there are rumors that he was either, retire now and we'll find you a good retirement package, or there was something going on with his son. Anthony Kennedy's son was mixed up in something. And the threat, some people wonder, or assume, or know, but have shared, is that in that conversation where Trump has his arm around Kennedy and they're walking away from the podium, and Kennedy looked at him, What? Then maybe Trump said something of, like a mafia boss would say, it'd be really terrible if this information came out about your son. So maybe we can make all of that just go away. If you say, hey, I'm done. I'm retiring. Trump gets another slot. And there you go. That's the difference between success and failure when it comes to being a politician. Some are heavy-handed, some try to be fair, but then you look at the end result. You look at the makeup of the Supreme Court, and there's no denying that they played the game better. And now we're taking a very brief blood pressure break. I will return in a moment. And we are back from break. I'm David Boles. This is Boles.tv. BOLES.tv. Live and in person from the East Coast. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. Well, we've been talking about a lot of things today. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the January 6th hearing. And somebody asked me, I said, why would Ivanka Trump turn against her dad? And the answer is really very simple, because she's very shallow. And because all of her friends have ostracized her. She and her family and her husband are pariahs. They're trying to buy their way out of it, but people who care about the United States and know what she did and did not do don't speak to her. And when you grow up in that insulated world where the children of rich adults get together and hang out and become best friends so they can run the country together, it becomes a painful issue when you're not part of the cool kids club anymore. And that is why she and her husband so willingly went before the January 6th committee to testify. They ran there. They couldn't wait to tell the truth as they know it. And people say, well, they don't know anything, so what do they care? Well, everybody else gave them a hard time, but the two of them willingly went. And you saw some of that in evidence last night. I believe Bill Barr. Now, will it make a difference? I don't know. But as so many people are now saying that the Jared whining comment is just, it proves what they believe, that he has always been a weasel. And everything you read about Jared Kushner is that he is the stupidest guy in the room. That's what people who worked with him in the White House said. He would come into the room and he was so dumb that he would pontificate on everything as if he knew what he was talking about. And there's no quicker way to show how how dumb you are when you start talking about things in which you have no basis in reality to speak about. But you're rich and you're young and you go to all the best schools. You have a good pedigree, but that doesn't mean you know anything. And we saw that last night. The vacant stare from Ivanka, I believe, with Bill Barr, and then Jared calling Pat Cipollone a whiner. These are the people who are running your life. Look out, they're still around. 2024 is coming. Hey, also in the news, Broadway is still in trouble. And it makes sense to me because the people who go to Broadway shows are usually a little bit older because the tickets are very expensive. And old people are still concerned about COVID. And they don't want to sit like this next to people packed into a traditional Broadway show. So they've tried to, space people out, empty out. But the problem is these shows, these older shows, pre-COVID shows, rely on breaking even by having all of those seats eventually filled. That's how they make the budget. And that's how they pay people. And when people are not coming and the seats are not getting filled and you discount them and you put the tickets on the TKTS line, and there are no old people there to buy them, and there are no tourists to buy them, then the shows close. So it's interesting now that the Broadway cleaners, which is a very interesting phrase, especially when you think of cleaners in New York, those are usually people who go up and take care of crime scenes, or the cleaners, also a code phrase for assassins. And we see that in Mr. Wick quite a bit. The movie, not the bot. You call the cleaners, and they come. 1 gold coin for each body you have to dispose of. But these are not that. These are the people who actually go in there and vacuum and clean the bathrooms. And they're saying, look, we've worked every day through this COVID thing to keep everything fresh and clean, and we want more money. I think they're getting $21 an hour, and they want a lot more money than that. And that sounds like a lot of money for people who just go in there and clean. And they have an important role. However, the people who work on Broadway get a lot of money. A conductor for a musical 20 years ago was getting $25,000 a week. Now that's a $100,000 a month. That's a lot of money. Oh, it's a conductor. Yeah, it's a conductor. Come on now. And Broadway stars, very easily, 20 years ago, a middling Broadway star, $50,000 a week. Probably today they're getting $100,000 a week. So this is the kind of money you're talking about. And this isn't just, the performers. The backstage people make just as much money because they have very strong unions. And they can make terrible things happen. I remember one negotiation in the early 90s, I guess late 80s, early 90s, where one of the union bosses was meeting with the Broadway producers and said, if you don't give us what we want, the next time you step onto a stage, we're going to drop a wrench on your head from the catwalk up there. Can you imagine they said that? They said it to Gerald Schoenfeld, who told us that. And Gerald was afraid. He believed him. These were, he suggested like mafia guys who run the Broadway local. So the loaders, the people who work backstage, the wardrobe people, they get a lot of money. So the cleaners want some of that money. There are people who, their job, even if there's no show, they're called doormen, but they're inside. They just stand there all day in case there's a delivery or someone wants to come in and look at the theater, or maybe there's a rehearsal, or even if the theater is dark, as they say, there's no show. There's someone in that theater all day and most of the night. I mean, you think they could just lock the door and be done with it, but they don't because there's a union. So you have to have people there, and they get paid a lot of money. One friend of mine was very old, couldn't move, had heart problems. All he did was sit behind the refreshment stand and yell at people. $5,000 a week. Just to stand there. Is that called a no-show job? I guess so. Because he really wasn't doing anything, and if he didn't show up a day or two, would anybody notice? Probably not. But he was very old. He'd been there for a long time. There's a pecking order in the union. And when you get old and you can't move and you're overweight and you have heart problems, that's the job you get. You get to sit behind a desk, a refreshment stand, order people around, yell at them, harass the delivery people, and get paid $5,000 a week. I'll take it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with this. And as they say, they're cleaning up vomit and cleaning up people's liquid parts, and they want to be paid for it. And they work hard. Well, this arrived yesterday, and it took longer than I thought it would be to arrive. Now, you've seen this before, but I'm going to show it to you again. Hey! Self-home test from Health and Human Services. Okay? So there are 2 tests in here, 4 tests. But, and this is interesting to me, they send you this too, if you sign up for it, right? So you're not only getting 1, 2, 3, 4, you're getting 8 tests altogether. That's the new thing from the government. You can have not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. You can have 8 at-home COVID tests. I guess because nobody else wants them. So they're sending them to the rest of us. I like it. This is the one that they usually send out. This is new. I've never seen this one before. This is from Roche. And they come in big padded envelopes now. They used to just wrap this in cellophane and put it in a box. But now they actually do it right, I guess. So hey, I'm all for that. And the last round where you order it from covidtest.gov. Then you could order 4 tests, right? We've had 3 cycles. We never got those. They never showed up. They said they were delivered, but they were not delivered to us. So yesterday when I got the notification, hey, they're all delivered, I thought, okay, maybe they are and maybe they aren't. But they were there. Very shocking. So what's going on with COVID in America? Nobody really talks about it anymore. Well, I'm going to show you this because this is very interesting, and it's a proof of a point that while people are taking off their masks, COVID isn't going anywhere. Oh, this says sign in. Oh my goodness, see, I had to restart my computer, so I have to sign in all over again. Sign in, and this is the Bloomberg website. See, they think I'm a bot. So I have to press and hold. Now it's not pressing and holding. Oh my goodness, come on now. And this is such a good article. Oh, what's happened? Maybe I'll do it from the main website. I mean, my main browser. See if I can get in that way. It doesn't think I'm a person. I have to press and hold. Okay, this is working now. The pressing and holding fills, it becomes a black screen because it says I'm not a human being. And then it asks me to sign in. Oh my goodness, I have to type in my password. And I'm going to talk about this for like 10 seconds, so it's not worth it, but it is worth it. Because that's what we do here. We do interesting, frivolous things that maybe give us an answer to what we're looking for. Okay, so I'm logged in on my main browser. Now we go back here. Hello. Okay, it worked. So here we are, living, blah, 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 blah. This is what I want to show you. This, and then show all 53. These are places that are COVID safe and COVID dangerous in the world, which is what I love. So, orange is bad, blue, good. Okay, I'm for that. And the Bloomberg Resilience Score is, I guess, what we're going to go by. The resilience score is an average of scores across 11 indicators. On the right, equally weighted. It is relative to other economies' performance at the given time. A place's score should not be compared in isolation to its previous score. So, number 1, if you're not looking to get infected with COVID, go to Norway. Okay. I'll leave tomorrow. And then Ireland, Denmark, Netherlands, all these wonderful, open, free, fun places where all the kind and good people live. And then we start going down the chart. The UK is number 14 with a grade of 75. Okay, not terrible. Light blue, not dark blue. Saudi Arabia, hey, is at 77.1, which is pretty good. And here we go. Down the line. Oh, here. Oh, look at number 31. The United States de Americano. We're not in full orange, but I would call it a light orange. 69.2. Not great. We're down 1 from where we used to be the last time they processed this. And we're in line with Portugal, Mexico, Greece, Bangladesh, Malaysia, Thailand. Now, is that a good group to be in when it comes to COVID prevention? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? Yeah. No. But hey, that's where we are. So then it starts getting worse. Okay, Egypt, surprising. Romania. And we go all the way to, oh, here we go into the dark orange. Some might say Trump orange. The Philippines, Pakistan, Taiwan, mainland China. Now China, I thought, locked everything down. No one can go anywhere. People are locked in their homes. Their metal fences are. stuck together, welded together, so they cannot leave. Score of 54. But here we go in the basement. Oh, are we surprised? Good old Russia. Hard to take care of the people when you're killing them. With a score of 53.1. It's a disappointing fact. Fact or fiction? The facts have it. Speaking of Russia, McDonald's is out, right? Right thing to do. We're leaving Russia because of what they've done. And we've been paying all of our employees, and we're going to help them rebrand. I saw a video the other day of the McDonald's trays, the plastic trays that they use to give people their food. And they have the McDonald's logo on it. And I guess there was some Russian guy there with a electric sander who was sanding off the McDonald's logo from all the plastic trays. Now that's extreme. That is saying, look, we're not just divorcing, but I don't even know who you are. So I'm leaving. Goodbye, Golden Arches. Rebranded McDonald's to reopen in Russia. And these are the great photographs of the Great Diversion. Now, who knew that the McDonald's M was actually two pieces? I did not know that. As Johnny Carson would say. Johnny who? Exactly. The McDonald's coming down. The McDonald's down. I guess they're supposed to be French fries, right? That's what the Golden Arches are. French fries. Bent French fries. I guess. And it's all gone. Gone forever. But this is the really interesting story. From Bloomberg again, Russia's former McDonald's chain unveils a new logo. So we saw the logo from Reuters being taken down, and this is the new logo that's going up. The company, oh, come on now. I just subscribed. Let me refresh it, see if it takes it. Yeah. Looking, I think we're in now. See, I have 82 tabs open, okay, to do this show, which is probably why everything freezes. And one window has music. Another window has all the closed caption stuff, like with 2 or 3 tabs open. I have my main browser that has like 50, 60 tabs. And then I have this little window that I've created that has about 25 tabs. That's sized and made perfect for you for the live show. On Boles.tv, spelling it Teevee. The company that took over McDonald's former restaurants in Russia plans to reopen them with a new logo based on a burger and fries on Sunday when the country celebrates a patriotic national holiday. The U.S. fast food chain sold its network of 850 restaurants to Russia Alexander Govor. Now that's a lot of money to lose. A McDonald's Corp franchisee last month, after closing them in March in response to President Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine. And the smart thing that Biden is trying to do is saying, hey, you know, your taxes and your prices are going up on your gasoline, and that's a terrible thing, and it's a tax from Putin. It's the Putin tax. Now, that's very smart. Now, will it stick? I don't know. His company plans to reopen the first 15 restaurants in and around Moscow under the new branding on the June 12 Russia Day holiday. And here is the new Golden Arches. Now, let's look at this semiotically. What is it? I don't know what it is. It doesn't make any sense to me. I guess it's supposed to be a burger and 2 fries. It looks like the land of the rising sun. It looks sort of Saudi Arabian to me. If you're familiar with the old Screen Gems logo, as a child I always thought it was 2 Band-Aids and an aspirin. This looks like that. Is that appealing? And it's orange. We know what orange means. High COVID risk. Hey, it's Commissioner Gordon. If you get your order and your fries are and your fries are that big, you have a big meal. Exactly. 2 giant fries and 1 tiny burger. The logo features 2 sticks of yellow fries and a yellow-orange burger. The company's press service said. Oh, the green background is part of it too. The green background of the logo symbolizes the quality of products and the service that our guests are accustomed to. Oh boy. The company hasn't yet disclosed the restaurant chain's name, though its mobile application changed to My Burger on Friday. Oh, I just find it very sad. To go from that icon to this is just weird. Now I have to look up the Screen Gems logo because it's so funny. This is the Screen Gems logo. This is the one that I grew up with. Not that one, the yellow one in the middle. 2 Band-Aids and an aspirin. And that was my task as a young child, to be able to say that out loud at the end of a show before it disappeared. 2 Band-Aids and an aspirin. Now, I guess I have to say, 2 giant French fries and an orange burger? Very, very strange. But hey, it's the news, and it's coming for you in Russia. And now it's that time of day again. Very brief break. Returning in a moment. And we are live, back from break. I'm David Boles. This is Boles.tv. BOLES.tv, BOLES.live is our video on demand. On the YouTube, and we are here with you Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. And while we were away for our chat, Gordon said, like the Pringles man greatly worsened. Yes. I don't know why people want to ruin logos. It's very strange. You have something that works, and people mess with it. The most iconic logo I think we have is the IBM logo, and it has not really been ever touched. Microsoft changed their logo, Facebook's changed their logo, and usually it's just a font change, which is very bizarre. And then Gordon asked our new friend, what do you like to watch on Netflix? I just got into Stranger Things, and as a child who grew up in the 80s, it's great. I don't believe she's here anymore. I think she came in and said hello and then skedaddled, as the young kids say today. And on break, I just can't get over this Mike Pence thing. I'm not getting into that car. Mike Pence saved us from Donald Trump. And it's interesting because, see, people always were upset with Mike Pence. Look, you're a moral man, you're a Christian man, Indiana man. How can you tolerate him? And maybe he saw himself as some sort of protection. Gordon says, as a youth of the 80s, have you gotten to appreciate Stranger Things? If you're talking to me, you're talking to the wrong person. I've never watched Stranger Things. If you're talking to our new friend, I do not know the answer. I don't think I've watched one episode of Stranger Things. I do like the logo, though. So all along, I guess Mike Pence was just playing along. He wants to be president. So he's just kind of giving us the time. But the great thing is that people say Mike Pence isn't very keen or very, not smart, but not very cunning. But now we know he is. And now we know that when that car showed up and they said, get in, and he said those famous 6 words, I'm not getting in that car, he knew what was about to happen to him. So that's very smart. That's a smart guy. Hey, Mr. Gordon, Commissioner, I was talking to you. I surmise our new friend was a glimmer in someone's eye in the 80s. Oh, I see what you mean. The logo is pretty much how Stephen King has his name written on books, especially in the 80s. I never made that connection. That's very interesting. I love Stephen King. I think he's a great writer, but he has also made it very clear that of all of his major hits, he was high on cocaine. Everything, all of his early big shows, movies, books that he wrote, he was high on cocaine. But I admire him for admitting that. But in some ways, it's going to inspire new young horror writers to take up that mantle that you got to be on something to write something, which is not true. But that's, I guess, the romance of it. You got to be high on the cocaine, you got to be high on the whiskey in order to write something dramatic, which I don't find to be necessarily true. And in my case, not true at all, because when I do that stuff, which I don't do, but that's drinking, when I occasionally do it, makes me very tired. It doesn't rile me up, it doesn't upset me, I just get very droopy. Hey, the commissioner provides a link to the unknown. Now see, if you don't know the Stranger Things logo, you're not going to make this connection. But I see it, and I like it. This is the front cover art for the book Christine, written by Stephen King. Now maybe I'm supposed to scroll, and it's going to maybe show me something else. No, that's it. Cover art can be obtained from Viking. And that does look like the, whatever you call it. Whoops. Something's happened. Oh, Screen Gems. Back. And Christine was a very interesting movie. And I have a friend back in Nebraska, loves to make horror movies, love Stephen King. And we filmed one of his short stories as, I guess, just proof of concept. Sometimes they come back. I was the star of the movie. And there were a couple of other actors that I knew when we got into the movie, and we watched it, and it was really, really fabulously successful. Excellent, excellent acting. Maybe not me, but other people in the movie were really fantastic. And then, of course, it just disappears, because when you just decide to do something as a student project, and you don't have the rights to do it, and you say based on a Stephen King novel, you really can't show it anywhere publicly. You can't really advertise it anywhere publicly because you're going to get in big trouble. And after that, he started making his own horror movies by himself, that he would write the script and film them. One was a dinosaur that came alive in a museum. Fun. Well done. But I said, do you think, hey, Greg, hey, do you think you could send me, at least the parts of that movie that I was in, that I could see it again? Because it's been 40 years. Yeah, I'll send it to you. Never sends anything. But sometimes they come back as a very good story. About kids and hauntings and bringing them back to settled old scores. But that's the problem when you're young and you want to do something and you don't know how to write a script, so you take a Stephen King short story and film it, and then you can't do anything with it. It's a problem. As someone in New York said, if you're going to do anything, write it yourself. Because taking someone else's work and then making it into a musical or a movie is like polishing a car that you don't own. So you're making it look good, you're making it beautiful, you're making it wanted by other people, but when it comes down to it, you don't own the car. Mm-hmm. So they say, look, you want to make movies, you want to write Broadway shows, start with writing the book. Write a book first, and then everything after that flows. So you own the underlying original artist rights and everything that flows from that. Otherwise, you got to go to somebody and pay them for the right to use their original work. And that's been very good advice. It's always better to create something than to borrow something and try to make it your own. Unless, however, it's in the public domain, then it's all different. Then you can go back and take a Willa Cather story or a Tolstoy story and reimagine it however you like and not have to worry about paying anybody anything. Because when it becomes part of the public domain, then it's all free to use. Fair use, as they say. Now, we earlier talked about Ruth Bader Ginsburg and what a big phony she turned out to be. And now it looks like it's Sheryl Sandberg's turn. What's the Trump term? It's her turn in the barrel, as they say. And Sheryl Sandberg has been, isn't she great? She's Mark Zuckerberg's second. Then as time and tide pass, she becomes more of an enabler. We have Mark Zuckerberg because she's there. And now she's abruptly said she's retiring and leaving. And she was supposed to be the next big thing in politics, I guess. Because she's this powerful woman who has all this money, and she's a liberal, and she's going to save us from ourselves. Oh, great. Okay, well, let's get after Sheryl Sandberg. And then she wrote this, and I've always had a little bit of an issue with her and the way that she presents herself. Because when she's interviewed, she uses a valley voice. I don't want to say it's really valley speak because, she speaks very well, but the intonation of her voice is very California. And as a Midwesterner, and probably as a East Coast snob, when she speaks with her valley voice, I find it very hard to concentrate and take her seriously. And I thought, well, maybe it's a temporary thing. Maybe it's something that she's putting on, like the Theranos person. Elizabeth Holmes talks like this, puts on a man's voice. Very weird. But I think that's just kind of the way that Sheryl Sandberg speaks. So can we hold it against her? No, but in evaluating what she's saying, it's very hard to take her seriously when she sounds like a Valley girl. And maybe she is a Valley girl. So she wrote this big book called Lean In. And I always found it a little odd. Oh, lean in. Which I guess means be more aggressive, ask for fair pay, listen to people. Okay. To me, learning about lean in is the same as Nancy Reagan saying, just say no to drugs. As you say it on the surface, reading it, oh, well, that makes sense. Okay. Someone offers you drugs, just say, no, thank you, I don't want drugs. Be successful in business by leaning in. It's just that simple. Show all your scars. Lean in. And I thought it was just a big bag of phoniness, which was disappointing because I thought she would have something very interesting to say. And now as time goes on and people are revealed and their functions are demonstrated, you begin to see, that's interesting. That's sort of what I was saying when the book was first released. So here's this big sort of expose in Bloomberg about Sheryl Sandberg. And there she is, enabler and enabled. And here's where we get into it. She wrote the book, it sold well, started a whole movement, I guess. Yet it took just a few years for Lean In Org's own research to undercut Sandberg's message of being capable and competent and smart. Each year, the foundation, in partnership with the consulting firm McKinsey, releases a survey of tens of thousands of employees at more than 100 big companies to assess the state of women in the workplace. Okay. The 2016 report found that slightly more women were asking for raises than men, aka leaning in. I want the money. Good news, right? Wrong, the article says. They were far more likely than men to be told they were being bossy, aggressive, or intimidating. And if you listen to Sheryl Sandberg demonstrate this in her Lean In interviews, that's exactly how she comes off, is this very pushy Valley girl trying to make you do what she wants. At least that's what I thought at the time. A study that had come out earlier that summer found that women asked for raises as much as men, but were less likely to get them. You're not leaning in enough. Many of the women we talked to in 2018 also had similar experiences. They leaned in, and the world pushed back. Now, that's you just can't, because you're a woman, lean in and demand more pay. You get there by being an exceptional person. You can't not do drugs by just saying no. I'm offering you drugs. No. No drugs. What about peer pressure? What about just say no? Well, shouldn't I be worried about my performance? Should I be, sometimes because I'm a woman and because of history, I need to do twice as good as a man to get the same amount of money? No. You just lean in and you demand what you want because you're a woman. But they're pushing back. Lean in more. And then we go on. Still, in a piece for the Wall Street Journal, 2016 surveys results, Sandberg doubled down. Lean in. That's all you have to do. All of us can encourage women to keep negotiating until the day that it's seen as perfectly normal and even expected for women to ask for more. Now, it's not right to say that a pushy woman gets pushed back, where a pushy man is being seen as being aggressive. And I guess when it comes to gender, we need to be aware that being aggressive and being assertive are seen differently depending on who's doing the assertiveness and the aggressiveness. And we may not like it, and we may not like the result, or even the topic that we're talking about, but there is a reality underneath it all that needs to at least be acknowledged. And just saying lean in and get your way doesn't seem like the most powerful way to get there. But people tried, and it doesn't look like it worked very well. Just like just say no was tried, and it was a terrible failure. And here we go. As times changed, Sheryl Sandberg updated her views. In 2016, a year after her husband suddenly died, she wrote in a Facebook post, "I did not really get how hard it is to succeed at work when you are overwhelmed at home." This was before the last 2 years of COVID-19 quarantines and school closures. She also acknowledged that women of color face additional biases not addressed in her Lean In book. But hey, in the meantime, Sandberg's role at Facebook became less compatible with her avowed values. While early in her tenure, she was credited with creating Facebook's lucrative ad sales model, in recent years, the company failed to rein in misinformation and hate speech and the improper sharing of user data. Most recently, the Wall Street Journal reported that she worked to suppress news about a restraining order against her former boyfriend, Bobby Kotick, the Activision Blizzard Incorporated CEO. Quote, "Sometimes what you need to do in a big job is at odds with what your Activision would just tell you to do," unquote, says Davia Tiemann, president and CEO of New York-based crisis consulting firm Tiemann and Company. So, as time and tide go on, and life starts revolving and piercing the lean-in bubble, you begin to see more sides to Sheryl Sandberg, which some say make her a hypocrite, some say make her a falsity, but perhaps it makes her more real. And maybe she'll write a whole new book after she's out. Lessons learned from leaning in. Now that could be interesting, especially if she's going to say, well, I thought this, and it wasn't that, it's more like this. And as a privileged white woman, I really had no idea that working black women had it harder than me, and they might have to take a little bit of a different attack than I was suggesting. That could be valuable. But in the meantime, we all wonder, what do we do with these people who claim to be experts, and they have a lot of money, and they get on TV because they're best friends with people, and they say, look, all you have to do is lean in, and you'll get everything you want. And people try it and fail, and then where are you? We are at the moment of our final commercial break. And we return in a moment. Hey, we're back from break. I'm David Boles. This is Boles.tv, live and in person from the Omaha Civic Auditorium. I wish. There is no Omaha Civic Auditorium anymore. And we are here, live from the East Coast, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Jana Marie Sweetheart will be here live tomorrow at 11 a.m. and Sunday as well, talking about sign language and disability topics and finding disabled people jobs. Now, just finishing up on the Sheryl Sandberg thing. The problem I always had with the lean in thing, watching her doing these interviews, was just lean in, tell them what you want and go after and get it. My theory has always been, if you are a valuable person to a company, you don't have to lean in. They know, the company, that you are valuable. And if they don't know you're valuable by your actions and your performance, leaning in and demanding things is not going to go well for you. It's going to be seen, male or female, as being pushy. Now, if the company asks you, hey, you're up for review, or, you tell us why you're special, then you can stand up for yourself. I guess you would call that leaning in, and tell them why you're important. To me, it's the same thing as my advice to people, that if anybody says to you, right when you meet them, or even if you've known them for a while, I'm a good person. Now, if someone says that about themselves, turn around and run away, because something bad is about to happen. Watch your pockets, watch your back. You're about to be stabbed in the back. Because good people don't have to tell other people that they're good people. They just know it by your behavior and your interaction and how you speak to them and how you are in everyday life. Hey, it's the commissioner. It might also be like when you, and I have seen this in person, a woman at a meeting suggests something and nobody says anything. And then the guy next to her says the same words verbatim and gets praised. Lean in. Yeah, I've heard of that happening as well, and that is a problem. Now, if that were me and I were that woman, I would say, well, thank you, Jerry, for confirming what I just said. I appreciate your support. And then it's solved. But if people are not listening to you, there's a reason for it. And it's not always because of gender or race. Sometimes it's, like it or not, personality, performance-based. So beware of people who self-congratulate. I'm a winner, I'm a leader, only I can solve the problem. I alone can fix the economy. I'm a good person. Ooh. When people tell me that, it just sends chills up my spine. Because that means you're not a good person, if you have to say it. Because why would a good person have to tell you that? A good person is just a good person, and you know it. Hey. Now, if I say it to you, hey, Jerry, you're a good person. Oh, thanks. Jerry's not going to say, I know. Hey, Jerry, you're great. I know. Now, maybe Jerry would, I don't know. And Jerry is a mysterious person. I'm not speaking about anybody in particular. Well, I have a couple more topics that I want to discuss before we say goodbye for the weekend and the monster takes over. And one of them is this. Hey, do we have any Floridians in the audience tonight? If so, can you lean in and please give us the explanation? This is a very interesting article from Fatherly, asking, why did the Star Wars hotel flop? Disney is desperate to find out. And I guess they're going to pay some people who stayed there $175 in a gift card to be in a 90-minute meeting with them at the end of the month saying, where did we go wrong? Why does nobody want to stay at our Star Wars hotel? And the minute I read about this, when it was first announced, I thought, well, that's interesting. It's a little bit too much for me, but the concept is curious. And I guess after reading this article, it seems like there are two things. It was $5,000 a night, which is a lot of money for a hotel room. And you couldn't go outside. The whole experience was in the hotel. So you were locked inside, paying $5,000 a night for this experience that I guess felt like a prison sentence. Now, if there are any Floridians who want to speak up and who happen to be fans of Star Wars and who has insight into this, please lean in now. And if you have nothing to say, then a report from the field has just come in. Commissioner Gordon says, easy answer, because people aren't getting the concept. Oh, that's interesting. I think it's $5,000 for the whole stay, which is a few days. Okay, that's very interesting. But what about the concept? I mean, do they give you costumes and you play a role that they give you? Do you become a person in the movie? Are you acting out scenes from the movie while you're there? Or is everybody just like role playing and pretending to be in Star Wars? Is there a Darth Vader around, or can you be Darth Vader? Can you have more than one Darth Vader? I'm confused by the whole thing. But the photographs I've seen of it are just spectacular. But Disney doesn't make these kind of mistakes. That's what's so fascinating about this. They always know what they're doing. And this, I guess, is just a tremendous flop. And what's so great that there's a Disneyland News. Okay, so I clicked on this. Hey, Disneyland News. Hey, Gordon says, the whole hotel has a capacity of, I think, 120 people. You don't have to wear a costume, but there are stories you get involved in and many paths your story can take. Well, that sounds like fun. I would like to do that. But maybe it's too complicated. I don't know. So you go to Disneyland News for the scoop about what's really going on. And you scroll down, and there's no story here. It's a few paragraphs saying, hey, they're going to give you $175 to tell them what went wrong. And that's the whole story. There's no report from Commissioner Gordon in Florida with analysis. And Gordon says, hey, most people just don't have $5,000 for what is basically live action role playing. I think most people flying down to Florida want to see the parks. That's very true. If you go down to Florida, especially, if you're from the Midwest or where it's cold, you want to be outside in the sun and have fun and be outside. You don't want to be locked in a hotel room. That's a good point. That all makes sense. But wouldn't it be great to be on that list and get $175 to tell them why they suck? And how can they fix it? Put them outside? I don't know. Because they have other concept places. You have lunch and there are people there and they have specially themed hotels. I thought it was going to be a massive hit. And finally today, the article I couldn't get to yesterday, but that I find really interesting. And I can't link the actual article because you have to pay for it. But you just can't go pay for it. You have to email somebody and tell them who you are, and then they decide if you have access to the paid research or not. Gordon also says, well, to be precise, you have to access the whole ship. Oh, you have access to the whole ship, so it's a ship. Okay. You're not stuck in your room. You may like seeing people's reviews on YouTube. I should look at that. I didn't mean to say they were stuck in their room, but they said that the article I was reading said they can't go outside. You're stuck inside this thing. World, ship. You're not allowed to go outside and see the sun, which is weird. So there's this new theory on decision-making that seeks to explain why humans don't make optimal choices. Now, wouldn't we love to know? Why do we make bad choices? Well, and it boils down to something that's very interesting and very complicated, and there's a big article about it, but you can't get access unless you pay through the nose. I tried to get it, but I gave up trying. So we're stuck with this little tidbit. And Gordon says, imagine if you are on a real spaceship. You can't open the door and go outside or you'll be a floater soon. Very true. So I would buy into the concept because I really don't like to go outside. I would not mind living on the Star Wars ship if everything else were paid for. And if I could chat with Chewbacca every day, I wouldn't mind. So here's an explanation as to why humans in general make decisions that are adequate but not optimal. So these people have figured out how to make a right decision, which is very interesting. And it boils down to this: an aspect of relative thinking explaining people tend to use ratios in their decision making when they should use only absolute differences. Effectively solving problems, some economic problems, requires one to think in terms of differences, while others require one to think in terms of ratios. Because both types of thinking are necessary, it is reasonable to think people develop and apply both types. However, it is also reasonable to expect that people misapply two types, thinking especially when less experienced use the context. Hey, Gordon says, people on social media claim that on any given study, like this one, you can, in theory, email people on the paper, in this case, Dr. Mohammadi, and ask for a copy of the paper, and they will be more than happy to send it to you for gratis. That's true. If you want to track them down, I can find it. Good point. Understanding how the cognitive and motivational characteristics of human beings and the operating procedures of organizations influence the working economic systems is of critical importance. So what I find most interesting about this, and I've read little pieces of this all over the internet, is we have been trained, especially people who are academic and who like to think of themselves as thoughtful people, but not self-proclaiming, I am not a good person. That when faced with a decision, they try to find the good and the bad sides. Well, if I go to the store now, it's hot, but I'll have enough money. But if I don't go, then it's going to be cold. They think in more than, less than, these ratios. And decision making. Should I go to college in Montana, or should I go to college in Nebraska? And instead of making a clear difference, black and white, this over that, period, let's go, which they tend to say is a better way to make a decision, people tend to try to cheat it a little bit. Well, let's make a piece of paper, good things, bad things. Let's write them down. Ratios more on this side than this side, so it's probably better to go over here than over here. And they're saying that that's not clear thinking. We should not do that. That's ratio thinking. And that's difficult for a lot of us who have been trained to think critically and to compare and contrast and to weigh benefits against bad things. And they say that it's sort of better to live in a black and white world instead of a gray world, where we're taught to kind of be in the middle. Take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, put it together, and that's how we survive together. We live neutrally. We don't live on the highs and the lows. And they're saying, at least economically, when you have to make a decision, it has to be a very firm decision. You can't be back and forth, a little bit of that, and a little bit of this, a little seltzer in your pants. It needs to be a clear winner. Like a football game, right? A tie is like kissing your sister, which is supposed to be a terrible thing. But they want a winner or a loser. This person won, that person lost. We have all the statistics about who did well and who... That doesn't matter. The only thing that matters in the end is this side won, this side lost. And they're saying take that attitude when it comes especially to economics and other parts of your life, if you want to apply it. into more absolutes and try to get away from ratios, where it's a little bit better and a little bit worse, but I'll try to err on the side of being a little more successful, even though people are going to come after me. And this affects people's writing as well. And you've read it. People who take a point of view and then fluffify it, right? They try to see both sides to everything. That's the problem with the news today. And you can see the success. Fox News, love them or hate them, absolutes, are on one side. And they're number one. They're making a lot of money. And then you have these others who people label as being liberal, MSNBC, CNN, it's both sides of the story. Even though the Republicans are completely wrong, let's find one of them so we can look fair and tell the other side. Well, maybe the other side doesn't make any sense. And it's more of an absolute than a ratio. And you see this in online writing a lot of times where people try to see both sides, and there's good sides and there's bad sides. And I'm a goody two-shoes, and I'm going to go right down the middle, and I'm not going to offend anybody. Where the more successful people on social media, in writing, making books, have a definite point of view. They have made a decision, one way or the other, and they've gone with it full blast. And sure, you can argue with them and try to pick apart their arguments, their dramatic tension, but at least they're making a decision. Gordon says, both sidism, so wonky sometimes. One side, genocide is not acceptable. Other side, actually, really, absolutely right. Just like this guy Palladino, Carl Palladino, running for Congress. He said, Hitler had a lot of good ideas. Now, that's insane. But at least he has a point of view. And he will lose, I believe, on that point of view. It would be more troublesome if he said, Hitler was a bad guy, he did some terrible things, I don't like what he did. If he was trying to rationalize ratio Hitler, he might have a better chance of maybe getting through to winning an election by convincing some people that he's not Hitler. Or a Hitler wannabe. But to just come out and say, hey, Hitler had some real good ideas, I support that. I think you're in trouble. Let me see if I can find something about Carl. And he's been endorsed, which is like the most ridiculous thing. Here we go. Which is the New York Times. And they signed me out because I had to restart my computer. So let me sign in. Hello? Thank you very much. Okay, now we're in. Here we go. Hey. Palladino draws backlash for calling Hitler the kind of leader we need. Carl Palladino, a Republican House candidate from New York, has been endorsed by Representative Stefanik, a member of party leadership. Now, Elise is really fascinating. Harvard trained, as elite as you can get. And she's picked a side. There's no ratio with her. She's 100% on the wrong side of humanity. Carl Palladino, a Republican running for a House seat in Western New York, praised Adolf Hitler last year for inspiring his followers, describing the fascist dictator as the kind of leader we need today. Mr. Palladino did not specifically condone Hitler's actions in his remarks, which he made in a 2021 radio interview that was unearthed on Thursday. But he said he was impressed by how the German leader and the head of the Nazi Party aroused the crowd in his speeches and suggested that Republicans in New York and Washington ought to emulate his approach. He would get up there screaming these epithets, and these people were just hypnotized by him. He said in the interview, resurfaced by left-leaning watchdog group Media Matters, hey, I guess that's the kind of leader we need today. We need someone inspirational. We need someone that is a doer. Oh, boy. But you know what I love about it? He's picked a side. He's on a side. He's saying, vote for me is a vote for Hitler. No ratio involved. I like it. Ostracism. Cut him off. Send him away. Thank you so much for playing. We'll never forget you. But I like that idea of making a harder decision. And sometimes trying to be a thoughtful person, you try to see both sides, and if you can, that's great. And then make a decision. But don't try to have everything both ways. It doesn't really work out well in the end for anybody. Well, it's been a fascinating week. I thank you so much for being here. Had a wonderful time. I will see you again on Monday. In the meantime, if you have any questions or comments for me, you can email me, david@boles.tv. For Jana Marie, questions, jana@boles.tv. And I will be back, Gordon says, in a day or two. I was singing that song all day yesterday, but I can't figure out how to do it because if I sing it and they mute me, it's a strike against me. So it's very technical and very difficult. I had to figure out some way to change the melody or something. On Twitter, @DavidBoles, super follow to follow. On Facebook, it's BOLES. Instagram, Boles Books. TikTok is Boles TV. And if you're looking for our Discord server, I'll show it to you right now. Now we'll see if this is the Boles bot or if this is the Streamlabs bot. It is the Boles bot. Earlier it was the Streamlabs bot, so maybe Streamlabs was barfing earlier today. Maybe write your own melody for it. That might be what I have to do. But sometimes they can get you on words too, so I gotta be a little bit careful. Flip that around somehow. Day or two, few hours, who knows? But I guess that's it for now. I'll see you on Monday, unless you say something else. I'm on my way to San Jose. As the song goes, that I didn't just quote. I will see you soon.